All right. Welcome, everyone. It is Trill Crime Time. Got Bobby Two Trill, of course. Hey, look, I don't have my Trill name up here. I knew I was forgetting some. We have Kelly Two Trill. How you guys doing today?
Good.
We had
the weather, man.
what's that?
The weather. We had snow.
We had snow a couple days ago
And now
here in the
it's
Midwest.
Now
yeah.
you could probably wear a t-shirt out there today.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's not bad. It was a little chilly this morning when I went up to the store, but other than that, yeah, no, it's been unseasonably warm, I guess. But we don't usually get all of our bad weather until like January. How's the weather where you're at? Is it nice and chilly?
It's cold here. I actually have the tortoises in my house again, so if my table starts moving, that's why.
Oh,
But it's gotten too cold even in their shed for them. It was like in the 20s, I think, last night. So, and the wind is terrible.
Well, it looks like better weather's headed your way. You're going to get what we're going to get the next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Hash Brown is here with him. Welcome, Hash Brown. 4 pit bulls across America, sunny and 75 in the desert. You must be out there in Arizona.
Isn't that the temperature in San Diego every day?
Pretty much, yeah. Stay classy, San Diego.
Beautiful weather.
We had a little change in plans. We were going to have, if you guys tuned in last week, we were going to have, I mentioned, Tina Wilson and her husband, Todd, I believe his name is. I hope I'm getting that right. I think it's Todd. As well as Shelly, who we talked to, all concerning the Cheryl Coker case. And unfortunately for Tina, she came down with a little bit of COVID. Shelly's going to be busy during the holidays. So we're going to put that off until after the new year. So,
and for those who didn't know, Cheryl Coker was killed by her husband,
Bill Coker. Yeah. One and only suspect for 5 years.
And he's still out there.
And he's still out there running around.
100%.
So. And it is in our neck of the woods. Who knows? He may, be driving by our house, driving through our neighborhood. We don't know. He's still out there. And if it's not Bill, which it is, then somebody. We have a murderer running around the streets here in our neighborhood. So we're going to kick off the new year. And have Tina and Todd and Shelly on, all very close friends. Todd, Tina's husband, went to grade school with Cheryl, and then Tina and them, all became friends, best friends, and of course Shelly, we've had her on. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Bobby Too Trill was Bobby Too Ill on on Monday. Had a bad cough. Something must be going around. Allergies, really. So that's, and then you have your own little debacle. Just things always seem to go bad, around the holidays. Your basement flooded. You say your sump pump went out. So it's been a hectic week for all three of us. So that's why there wasn't
3 inches of water down there right now.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
Well, if you let it freeze, man, you got a skating rink. Send the kids down there to skate.
Right. Yeah, we need a lot more thinkers like that.
Right. Exactly.
That's a true story.
That's Trill's story. And so yeah, that's why we didn't do a show Monday. So if anybody was waiting for that, I apologize. But here we are. Bobby Too Trill is not too ill. You have a break from the basement issue. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
Mom had a stroke last week. This week I've been sick. Don't even have her tree up yet. Well, I hope your mom is best wishes to your mom, Hash Brown, and I hope you get to feeling better soon and get that tree up. Christmas is right around the corner. My God, this year seemed to fly by. Maybe it's just me. I thought yesterday was Halloween. And then it's like bam, it's like we go from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas, just like that quick.
It's supposed to be fishing weather here on Christmas.
Wow. Fishing weather. Unbelievable.
High 50s.
Unbelievable. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna go back and revisit. It hasn't been really anything new going on in Delphi. The last thing that went on was wasn't there a response? Was there a response from the Supreme Court? I believe I heard there was a response to, they set an argument. They call it an argument.
Yeah.
They set the argument for the 13th of January.
18th.
What is it?
18th of January.
18th of January, which is going to be streamed live on their website, on the, I guess, the Supreme Court's website. You can watch this argument, and they're trying to remove Gall, to get the attorneys back. And what was the third one? There was three main things. Get the attorneys back. Get Gall off the case.
Oh, I can't think either.
It'll come to me, but I know there was three main points. If anybody in the chat knows offhand.
Oh, a speedy trial.
Yeah.
Speedy
Within
trial,
70 days.
yes, to have the trial, yes, within 70 days, I believe it was. They want this shit going,
Yeah.
so we'll see. We have a little bit, but we're gonna go back and revisit and do some of that dreadful speculation, because there's some interesting things. Brad Holder is going to be our main topic concerning Delphi, and we're going to talk a little bit about the voice comparisons. I have a little clip to show, and comparing Brad Holder, Patrick Westphal, Richard Allen, as well as Ron Logan, who has since passed away. So if he had anything to do with it, unless somebody comes out, we'll never know. So I want to start with you, Bobby, because you said you've been doing a lot of digging here.
I have.
With Brad. What have you been finding?
He's got a lot out there. I mean, if you Google this guy, you find out quite a bit, with like my life and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, his Facebook and stuff, looking at the pictures, his comments for the murders, after the murders. I could see why the FBI was intrigued with him. I could see why they wanted to question him. I can also see why one of the FBI agents flat out pretty much said it's this guy and it's Odenites who did it. I think there's a really good reason. And
while you're talking, I do have, just so you know, I do have the some of the pictures that are on his Facebook. While you're talking about that.
Yeah, some of those pictures, like in the French report where it came out that some of the branches they found on the girls appeared to be cut with a saw or a hand tool. And before the murders, Brad Holder was putting these pictures up of him he spent a lot of time in the woods. He put these pictures up with ruins on the ground and made with sticks, and some of them are indeed cut. And you also have
that one right there.
Yeah. Patrick Westphal at his house as well, cutting ruins. And Patrick Westphal said in an interview recently that they would make little tiny ones. You would cut little tiny, pieces off of these sticks, and then each kid would put a ruin on them or whatever. But seeing as you see a guy cutting them, there's cut ones in those pictures right there. And a couple that were found on the girls, according to the Franks report, were also cut with a tool. That's not just intriguing to me. I mean, that is something that would absolutely draw me to that person.
Mm-hmm. And he was a person of interest in the beginning. Yeah, this wasn't a name who slipped under the radar. He was a person of interest, unlike Richard Allen for the longest time.
Yeah, and the reason being is his son was, how dating Abby.
Mm-hmm.
you know, what they call dating back, you know, when you're a kid like that, petting, whatever it is, talking on the phone.
Right.
But I think it was the grandmother, Abby, right, who actually drew attention to Brad Holder and said,
Yes.
said to the police, you might want to look into this guy because he's
Mhm.
into some weird stuff.
Yeah, so she kind of, I guess, you know, was maybe the
Sorry.
incendiary. No, you're
I'm
fine.
not laughing at this. My
I
tortoise
think
is
that I think the
moving.
tortoise is the natives are
Oh my
restless.
goodness.
Those things are awesome.
My
Uh,
apologies. I have a
no,
tortoise
no,
that
you're
was pushing
fine.
my table. But
This
I
is
thought
great.
it
This
was gonna
makes
happen.
for an entertaining show.
I mean, it's awesome.
Okay,
How many
guys,
people
this
you
this
know?
is my friend that's beating up the table right now. I apologize. I said it was coming, and of course it did. Right as I said it was coming.
That's
You
hilarious.
don't see too many people with
Sorry to
tortoises.
interrupt you.
No, no, you're fine.
They're beautiful animals.
Yeah.
I was trying to hold the table in place as he was talking, trying not to laugh, and then it started pushing further away from me.
Oh, they're adorable.
Sorry.
Yeah, the hash brown likes it. Yeah, so you know, he was a you know, a person of interest. Oh, and his and Abby was, you said it was Abby's
I think it was
grandmother?
Abby's grandmother because she knows that, you know, she was talking to his son and things, you know, back and forth. And
She was kind of the one that maybe put that thought into, you know, the prosecutors or someone's head that they're this maybe ritualistic. He's into some shady stuff.
I'm sure as soon as they looked at his Facebook and seen those pictures of, because they knew what the crime scene looked like. And there's pictures on there that resemble what the crime scene says it look like. And this guy spends a lot of time in the woods, does a lot of ruin cutting and stuff, and forming ruins out of sticks and stuff, and taking pictures of them in the woods. Almost a year to the day, just a year and a couple days later, he posted a painting that he had painted, and it's got the hanged man on it, somebody hanging from a tree. And at the very bottom of that tree, it looks like what is a minute little.
Do we have? Did you send that picture in there?
I don't think so.
With it, I'm looking through. Yeah, I don't remember saying nope because it goes right to Kelly's elf on the shelf.
Oh, sorry.
Elves.
But that picture is easy to find. You know, if you just punch in on Google Brad Holder painting, yeah, it'll pretty much come up. It's pretty easy to find because a lot of people have been looking at it, you know, the same way, thinking, man, that's awful weird. He might have started painting that on the anniversary date, and got finished with it. And look at that, somebody hanging from a tree with a little red F at the bottom of it, what appears to be a little red F, and they so happen to find what looks like an F in blood on the tree.
The hanging man picture, I don't have that right here handy, but I'm sure everyone is familiar with that in the tarot cards, the hanging man where the leg is bent, the arms, we confirmed this last week, the arms are tied behind the back, and that leg being bent, which coincidentally enough is just how I get them so confused. I swear. I don't know why. We've talked about this. So it was Abby who had the leg bent, right? Yes, Abby. So a lot of similarities there.
And what intrigues me about it, though, is that we know from looking at past killers and serial killers that they like to brag and put a little bit of something out there. The Zodiac was sending stuff to the police. So was BTK. They want to actually put something out there to make people think it.
Yeah.
You know, they're narcissists.
Oh, extreme. Yeah. Kelly, what do you think about all this stuff? What's your thoughts on Brad Holder?
I've had a strong feeling about Brad Holder since he was mentioned in the Frank's memorandum, which I think we've brought up a bunch of times. But like you said, just those little clues he's got to throw in on social media, or just his response to it in general. It's not, I feel bad for the families, I'm sorry this happened. It's, oh, you think I'm the killer? I'll wear this hat and then this hat and see what you
does
really
this
think of
hat
me.
trigger you?
Yeah, it's like, that's not a normal response. And then one of the things we just talked about before we signed in was the fact that he posted a new Snapchat account a couple weeks before the girls were killed, and the end of his Snapchat numbers, so it was Bad Brad 213. 213 is the day they were murdered. So that seems strange.
Yeah, well,
Just
that's
so many different, like you said, little things just thrown out there that it's really hard to look past. I think he looks very similar to Bridge Guy. I think the hat is similar. I think the stature's very similar. He wears jeans a lot in his pictures, which I know a lot of people do, but even if
Sure.
you look at the way they fit on his body, they're very baggy in certain areas.
yep.
And that was something I was paying attention to, and it seems like it's very similar to the gape and the way that they fit Bridge Guy. And I don't know if you guys agree with that either, but I was kind of
I
just like
do.
Mhm.
looking really closely at the pictures, and they're baggy kind of like in the thigh area, which is where it seemed to be the same on him. So just little things like that. The fact that the portraits that were put out or the sketches that were put out, we discussed before, one is an older gentleman and one is a younger gentleman. And if you look at the main features, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, they're
Yeah.
almost identical. And so I
Yeah.
could see that being a father son thing. If you look on his Facebook page, it's a lot of father son interaction and introducing his son into his lifestyle with Odinism or with masonry and all of that. And a couple days before the murder, he posted that it's basically like a meme. Sorry, I'm out of breath from picking up my tortoise.
No, you're fine.
uh, but there was a meme of like a dad giving a piece of himself to his son to fill
Mhm.
in the son's piece. And so that kind of, to me, felt like okay, here's your introduction into this Odinism lifestyle. Here's your
Yeah.
sacrifice portion, and now you're going to be, I'm giving you this part in our
Yeah.
ritual, I guess.
Well,
And that could be,
as well as the the Freemasonry,
yeah.
as you see right there. And sorry that it's so, maybe small
He's a
for the
grand master.
viewers, but yeah, you can see there's a 33
He's
on
he's a
his apron. He's a
Hmm.
33rd
he's
degree,
a grand master, man.
yeah.
Anybody in the Masonic Lodge is going to look up to him. He had to be voted in unanimously to that position, and
Hmm.
that means that everybody looks up to him. And going back to the Bridge Guy for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
because people are going to point out, look, we got pictures of Brad Holder from this time period, and he has a great big beard. Okay, but keep in mind that witnesses did say that something was covering the bottom of his face, so he might have been trying to hide that huge, obvious feature that
And
anybody's going
even
to
if
be
you
able
just
to
look
see.
at the face shape, because you can't see the intricate details of the face in Bridge Guy's video or the picture if you do a still frame, but the shape is so similar, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Mm-hmm.
And you either have a longer face or you have a rounder face, and you can see the roundness of the head shape and face shape in that. And I feel like it's so similar. The hat, the little leather pouch we discussed. There's just so many features that remind me so much of the Facebook pictures that I've stalked of his several times. And I also thought it was strange because he seems to be a very avid social media poster. And if you notice on the 13th and 14th, it was like maybe one post or two posts randomly. And they were just quick memes. They were the regular, a ton of interaction I feel like that he generally had, which would make sense with him
Mm-hmm.
being busy those that period of time as well. So I don't know. And it is
Well,
speculation,
I
but
mean that's a good point because they there's I've watched so much true crime that that right there is a red flag to most investigators, because they look at what is the normal routine,
mm,
and if this person is posting all the time, then all of a sudden goes silent or quiet on their social media, which is out of character at the time of a particular crime, that may raise red flags, especially if they're already looking at that person as a person of interest. So, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
yeah.
I mean, because it happens in so many other cases of less magnitude.
And even just
So,
to touch on the interview with Patrick Westfall that I think we've all watched at this point.
mhm.
I have a hard time believing Patrick Westfall was involved in the entire thing because of the way he carries himself in that conversation. I think he was aware of what happened. I think he
Mhm.
might have been there and left because he disagreed with something, which is also what Brad Holder's girlfriend said, that they disagreed over a ritual that was happening in the woods by a river. I feel like that's something that should have stood out to detectives, and you
It
see
really
that
should
there's
have. I mean, that I'm sorry to cut you off, but that
No,
was
it's okay.
really detailed. You know, when his girlfriend says they got into an argument in the woods down by a river, and that's exactly where, you know, the bodies were placed. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
placed because I don't think they weren't murdered there.
And I could see Westfall being the type of guy that would be okay with these murders, but not okay with them being two white girls.
Mm.
I can see that being
Possible.
an argument, that he would get mad enough that these guys aren't friends anymore after this. Shortly after this, they split apart.
And
They were
that's
in
the
pictures.
thing. Leading up to that, you see a ton of pictures of them together, like they're best friends. You
Mhm.
know, like
Yep.
there's so many pictures of them together, and then at that date, it stops. You just don't see anymore. And even Patrick admitted in that interview that they stopped talking at that point. And so, what caused that? One, and two, his way that he describes it, it's well, if it's meant to be a sacrifice for Odin, they could have done a hell of a lot better, was kind of the response.
Yeah.
And that's such a strange response to me. And the way he criticizes Brad Holder when he talks about Brad Holder makes me feel like that was the disagreement. He didn't like the way he was going about setting up this ritual. And so he walked away over a disagreement, and then he had to shit on the way he did it. Well, I'd have
Yeah.
done it better. You know,
Mm.
and that's just not a response, a normal or typical response for someone discussing the murders of two children. So I don't, there's so many things that just seem to point in that direction, I guess, for me. But
Yeah, I mean, like Hash Brown was saying, you know, I don't know what to think about Delphi. You know, I mean, because it just goes in so many directions. It makes you want to pull your dreads out.
yeah.
If you have to.
Did that a long time ago.
You did. You did, Mr. Votto. You did. No, yes, Bobby Tutro looks like Joey Votto, first baseman, Cincinnati Reds. We did a side by side.
That'd
You
be an
would
awesome
would
gig.
swear Joey Votto was bridge guy.
It'd be awesome to play baseball for him.
Now, what do you guys think about the voices? There, you know, the audio clips that we have.
Well, I'll give you my opinion real quick.
Sure.
Because it's real simple. I've since the very beginning, those sound like two different guys to me. I know, you know, most people are going to disagree with that, and I understand that. But the person who says guys sounds like Patrick Westfall to me. The down the hill part sounds like Brad Holder. And I've always thought that, you know, we talked a long time ago about this case. I've always thought that those were two different voices. One of them sounds younger, you know, and the other one sounds grittier, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
it does. Yeah, you share the same opinion. You think it's two different people.
Yeah, and I think the one almost sounds slightly higher pitched, I guess, to me. And then, like you said, the other one's like a grittier, almost older sound. But the down the hill, man, that sounds so much like Brad Holder to me. I feel like it's very similar. And I watched that video where he was making fun, trying on the different hats, and that sound was like, even the rhythm of his voice, I guess, is a better way of putting it. It's not even the words specifically. It's your voice raises and lowers on certain words. It's like a rhythm, I guess. And that was almost identical to me, I feel like. So yeah, I agree with that.
No, yeah, it really was. Go ahead, Bobby.
And I want to say about those hats. A witness described this person as wearing a short brimmed hat. I live in the Midwest. There ain't too many people around here that wear those short brimmed, but he was known for wearing them well before the murders. And he's come out and put them on and said, "Do I look like the killer to you?" Instead of making fun of it and stuff. But he's well known for wearing stuff.
Who makes fun of it? I mean,
the Zodiac, that kind of person would make fun of it.
Unless you have, like, you're a sociopath and you don't give a fuck what happens to these young girls, why would you be poking fun at what happened? It's just insane. No matter how frustrated you are of people accusing you.
Keep in mind also that Brad Holder and his son both went to the viewing and the funeral. Okay, of this, because this was his supposed little ex-girlfriend. You know, so this could be a matter of the killer actually going to the funerals stuff.
Which they usually, you know, when there's a murder, they'll usually have some undercover cops there just to watch the crowd, watch reactions, watch to see if people, does this person belong here? What are they doing there?
Brad or Doug Carter seemed to always think this was a local guy. Like he said in that interview that, to the killer who could be sitting right here in
in that press conference, right?
I think he thought the same way, that this is a guy who's probably knows more about the family, who's a little bit closer, can track them a little bit. He had the means to track these girls and find out where they were through his son, through his social medias, or maybe they were talking the night before or something. Yeah. Now, I thought that about Richard Allen too. When they first mentioned him, I was looking to see how old his daughter was, and maybe if she had known them, but apparently not.
Yeah, there was like no connection to them girls with Richard Allen. I mean, no, social media, no, nothing.
This guy,
I feel like it had to be someone local too, because being an outsider, I wouldn't have a clue anything about that bridge. So if I went to that park, I wouldn't know that once I crossed that bridge, I'd have to come back across that bridge to get through the park. So someone who is from that area would know that if you're crossing that bridge, you either have to cross through the woods to get back down and around, or you have to come back across that bridge. And that person cornered them and kept them from coming back across that bridge and pushed them into that wooded area. So I feel like that's somebody that had to be familiar with that park. And I know that the detectives touched on that too. And I 100% agree. If you're not familiar with that area, you wouldn't know to use that to your advantage. And the area that they were found in was kind of like in a dip almost.
Yeah.
So if you're looking just kind of once over quick, you won't see them because they're almost hidden by a valley. It's almost like in the center of a valley that they were down in like a bowl shape. So I feel like you'd have to be someone who was avidly in that outdoor area, which is something they were very clear about doing a lot of rituals outdoors. They were in those areas a lot. So I feel like that needed to be something you are aware of to kind of hide those bodies and to give you space where someone's not going to see you just walking by. So,
right.
I wonder, sitting here thinking,
but I've seen you, boy. I was smoky in here.
I wonder, because there's a picture out there with Abby with that Brad Holder's son. They're together. I wonder how many times, or if it was common for the parents maybe to drop them off in a mutual location, or for them to meet in a mutual location, because it's bringing back those memories of that witness who said that the kid was out by the car and said he was waiting for his dad.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always thought that was, suspect. And it was like 2 or 3 ladies that walked by him and asked him if he was okay.
Yeah.
Because he was, to them anyway, even if he was 18, 19, an 18, 19-year-old is a young kid to me. I'll call you a kid. I don't care if you're legally an adult. You're a kid to me, So, they were worried. Are you okay? That's always stuck out in my mind. And the fact that we don't know, most of the people I think just assume that the guys down the hill is the guy in the video.
Right.
And that has not been proven.
I was going to ask you what you thought about the voice, speaking of the guy on the bridge. What did you think about you asked us about
and I'm right there along with you guys, because I think part of it does sound like the down the hill part sounds a little bit like Westfall. I do think it has more similarities to, like Kelly said and you said, Brad Holder. Like you said, Kelly, the tone of the voice. We all have distinctive ways of talking,
He had a southern drawl.
He had a very southern drawl, right?
And this dude's from Georgia, I do believe. Brad Holder.
Yeah. I mean, we all have distinctive ways that we talk and we say certain things. It's just like when you type, I always do the ... I don't know why I do that, but I just do it. And so there's certain ways, we're habitual creatures, so we do think, and there were certain things about the way he talked that resembled the down the hill. Guys, that's the one. I don't know if that's the part of the audio that you were saying sounds more older and raspy. I think
younger.
you think
I thought
you
it
think the
sounded
guys
younger, too.
sounds younger.
Yeah.
Really?
And the down, because I'm going to try to do it. The guy sounds like guys, just like a Midwestern would talk.
Sure.
And the downhill's like downhill, like a Southern would talk almost to me. It's like
I agree.
Like you two are from Baltimore, and I'm sure the people can hear the differences in our voice. You guys got an Eastern style of talk, and I like
Danny
that.
Ocean on.
And I'm a Midwestern. I've been a Midwestern all my life. And people from different areas have different talks. Man, that dude's a little out of place here in the Midwest. That downhill, you don't.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, the Midwest, they don't have that much of a draw. You'll hear a little bit, every certain people, but they usually have they're usually from a deeper South, and I mean we're Midwest. We don't have really all that. Yeah,
not really.
People when I first moved here said, yeah, I had an accent. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm going home. Anyway, so hey, let's take a little listen. This is from Michelle After Dark. She does
I like her podcast.
Yeah, I like her show. She's entertaining, plus she has a really cool accent.
I love her accent, and she's so sassy. I love her.
She
attitude.
is, boy. She's a pistol.
So fun.
She's a firecracker, and I'm gonna take a look. She compares Ron Logan, Richard Allen, Brad Holder, and Patrick Westphal. Audio clips, and compares them with the guys down the hill. So let's take a little listen.
Coming up. There's the word truck coming up. There's the word truck coming up.
And it sucks because that was Richard Allen, and there's not a lot of audio for Richard, and what there is muffled. It's not good quality, so it doesn't really, not like what you're going to hear with Westphal and, the others.
There's the word truck coming up. There's the word truck coming up. There's the word truck coming up.
I don't even know what he's saying.
There's the word truck coming up. There's the word truck coming up. There's the word truck coming up.
You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing this hat, right? How about this hat? Does this hat trigger you?
What a
You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing this hat, right? How about this hat? Does this hat trigger you?
Oh, the pattern.
You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing this hat, right? How about this hat? Does this hat trigger you?
And I didn't get home till approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped to ask for information.
I don't think that is kind of that Midwestern Southern accent I was speaking about. It's not, a real like Georgia or anything like that. But
there's another video on YouTube where Brad Holder's son is lifting weights.
I've seen that,
and man, that one sounds identical. It's scary how identical it sounds.
I can find that after.
And I didn't get home till approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped to ask for information. And I didn't get home till approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped to ask for information.
There ain't nothing wrong with True. All Europeans started off this way.
Patrick Westphal, he already sounds
they
like
didn't convert to Christianity until it slaughtered its way out of the Middle East into Europe. There ain't nothing wrong with True. All Europeans started off this way. Most of all of them.
And Manholder, I can hear
they didn't convert to Christianity until it slaughtered its way out of the Middle East into Europe. There ain't nothing wrong with True. All Europeans.
But to me, it's Holder sounds more like you know.
Yeah.
He does, like you said, Kelly, he does, you know, there's just certain distinctive things with Holder's voice.
I just feel like Ron Logan and Richard Allen, they just, neither of them sound anything like it to me.
Anything like it, yeah.
Richard Allen's almost like even with the way he talks, not necessarily monotone, but the closest thing to it. He's very even. Like there's not a high and low.
Right.
Like,
it doesn't
with
fluctuate a
like,
lot.
Like I don't know. I know this is like a weird motion, but like that's
Right.
what I picture in my head. My ADHD giving me images in my head,
Yeah, sure,
and that's what I
right.
see. It's like a wave when he talks. Like there's highs, there's lows, highs, lows.
Uh-huh.
And
a lot of
so
us do
similar.
that, you know. We you know, just put emphasis on, like I just did there, you know, versus, you know, we put emphasis on, you know, see, more monotone, not really a whole lot of fluctuation. Yeah. Bobby, do you want to say something? No.
The wheelchair coming up.
You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing this hat, right? How about this hat? Does this hat trigger you? You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing this hat, right? How about this hat? Does this hat trigger you?
You know what?
Such a douchebag. Gosh, he just
now
makes
that
my skin crawl.
now that I hear that again, that very well could have been Ron Logan.
Really?
But when I hear that down the hill again, I just
You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing this hat, right? How about this hat? Does this hat trigger you?
And I didn't get home until approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped to ask for information.
I don't know.
I kind of hear it. I'm
Kinda.
But
all right, let me I'll get the there is a video of his son weightlifting, and
that sounds more like on the spot with the down the hill to me.
I just wish they had, you know, because like you said, you know, Patrick Westphal says guys a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
it sounds like guys when he says it.
And so yeah, there's a good comparison when you're using the same language, the same words, you know, then you can compare it better. You have to really go on what you were saying, Kelly, with the fluctuation and how the guy talks, the drawl, the Southern drawl. And is it apparent, any of those, and just how he talks? And, you know, apparent there. Let me, you guys go ahead. I don't know. Open floor. Oh, here it is right here. Boy, that didn't take long. I'm on it.
I'm sorry, I look so jittery. This tortoise is determined to push this table today. So if I look like I'm like all over the place, I apologize. I'm just trying to prevent her from knocking me over again.
You're fine. It's too cold out there for them.
She's like ramming my foot, like as I'm talking to you, trying to get past my foot.
Okay, here is this is Brad Holder.
Think of what you just heard with Down the Hill.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard guys down the hill so much, you probably don't need to hear it side by side. Now let's listen to his, you know, Brad Holder talk, and you can hear it a little bit better what you were saying, Kelly.
Okay, here's Logan doing 271 pounds. Go. Come on. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Okay, here's Logan doing 271 pounds.
Southern draw. 71 pounds.
Yeah.
Down the hill. Yeah,
and he drags like the end of his words. If you notice, like it's like the 5. Like he like drags like the
drags it out.
And I feel like that's the same as the down the hill. There's like a downhill. Like there's always a drag almost at the end of those words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
I'm with you. When I first heard that, it actually stuck out to me enough where I really wasn't paying attention to it. And then when he said it, I immediately looked up at my screen because it just jarred that in me. Like I heard it immediately. And I was like, man, with all the other stuff that is going involved with this guy, and then he sounds similar to, yeah.
Agreed.
You even did some looking into Brad, and you found out he lives right next door to his mom
and dad.
Yeah, his mom is a next door neighbor on one side, and who's on the other side. I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if I want to get too much into it because this might make for a really interesting show next week. But I'm looking into something, and dropping some names maybe. I think things are starting to become a little more clear because when you're focusing on the right person, and I think it just becomes clear when you know that this is the person that you're looking for, and you start looking around them, you start to see stuff.
Yeah,
and this guy's got some associates, man, in some high places.
And that's all it calls him, associates, we don't know the association, whether it's business, whether it's personal.
Some of his associates would definitely have had firsthand contact with both of these girls. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I'd like to see the pictures of that person you're talking about. So make sure you send those today because that was interesting.
I'll show you. Yeah, because I know Bobby wants to do some more digging into this before we start dropping names. But I can guarantee you, it's not a name that I've heard brought up in this case.
No, same.
I've never heard this. So you have to look at all angles. Why are we talking about this when they have Richard Allen in jail? Well, in prison. Well, that's the reason, because for one, we don't believe Richard Allen is guilty of this, which a lot of people don't believe that Richard Allen is guilty, that there were other people involved. The prosecution even said that they think there was more than, one person did this.
You got an FBI agent pointing at these guys that were mentioning, saying it's them.
And he even, he had an FBI agent, probably like a behavioral analysis or analyst. Or like oh man, I can't think of it, a profiler, but an FBI agent nonetheless pointed right at Brad Holder and said, "That's your guy. Yeah. That's your guy."
Yeah. I'm just itching so bad to get to a trial to hear the rest of evidence, if there is any other evidence, because out like that, I sent you a clip from it, but there's a podcast called Down the Hill, and they created a TV, I think it was like a mini series. It was like 2 episodes. And I rewatched it again recently just to see if there was anything that I missed for watching it, a while back. And one of the things that Sheriff Toby Lesenby talks about is the fact that they have fingerprints and they have DNA. So I'm curious to know, does any of that match Richard Allen? And if not, then I just feel like there's nothing holding this man in prison right now. I just think it's insane. And who do those fingerprints and DNA match to?
Exactly.
Because, why was it at the scene? It's not like that's just a normal place. You just go strolling through that area. It wasn't on the bridge. You're saying you found it at the crime scene, which is in the middle of the woods, in a dip in the woods at that. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to know so much more about that evidence, because right there he admitted that there are fingerprints and there is DNA. So will that be presented in court when the trial comes about? Or are we just going to act like that doesn't exist and you didn't say that in 2018? Or 2019, whenever the document came out? It was a few years ago. So it's like, are you just going to act like you didn't say that, like you have with multiple other reports that, people told you what color somebody was wearing or what they said, and we just changed that and acted like that wasn't what was said? Is that what's going to happen with this evidence? I don't have a lot of respect for that guy.
Right. So much has been swept under the rug. So many people have come forward in the beginning of this case and said things that would have red flags popping up everywhere. And it seems like none of those areas of investigation were pursued with
One of the other things he says in that documentary that really stood out to me was he said the other thing is this crime scene was so hard to investigate because you're in the middle of the woods and there were so many people searching during this time. So people didn't walk back to their home to use the bathroom. So you have spit and you have urine. So usually you would hear somebody say, okay, people were urinating because obviously they're walking through the woods, but I don't think they're urinating where the body was when they find the body. You know what I mean? I don't think they're stopping, finding a body and spitting on the ground. And one of the things that was in those reports and was brought up in the Frank's memorandum was the fact that Elvis Fields said that he spit on one of the girls. So the fact that you pointed that out in that documentary to say, hey, there might be spit around that area. You know what I mean? It just, that was another thing that I was like, that kind of stood out to me a little bit. So I don't think I'm finding a dead body and then spitting around it or pissing around it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might find it in other areas of the woods, but I don't think the DNA around those bodies, I feel like, came from the person that had something to do with those bodies being there. I mean, it just, that only makes sense to me.
Yeah,
sure.
And since you said Elvis Fields, I will go ahead and give a list of names, because just in case that any of these people involved stumbled across this podcast, I want them to know how close that they are really being caught. So we'll say Patrick Westfall, Patrick Brown, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, of course, Brad Holder, and Josh Long. So if they hear those names, they're going to know that somebody has to be onto them.
That's right. I don't know.
I just thought I'd throw that out there in case they ever listen to this. I want them to shit their pants.
I'm curious, like, people that are watching, what do you guys think? Do you guys have feelings about Brad Holder or Patrick Westfall? I'd love to have Patrick Westfall or Brad. I know Brad Holder doesn't seem to speak up unless it's on his own social media, because I think he is one of those bitches that hide behind their social media personally. Right. And that might be rude, but I don't care. I think he's a douchebag, whether he's involved or not, just the way he presents himself. Exactly. But Patrick Westfall has made himself known in podcasts and has been willing to speak. I'd love to hear from him and get his side, but I'm just curious what our viewers think, if they have ideas of whether or not they think these people are involved, or if the Frank's memorandum has any weight to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to mention, if what everybody thought about the clips, who sounds most like the guys down the hill. Is it Brad Holder? I think we're all in agreement that it probably sounds more like Brad Holder than any of them. And then I think second, Patrick Westfall. Again, Richard Allen's audio, very muffled. You can't even really tell what he's saying because there's not a lot of audio of him to really compare. And then, of course, Ron Logan, who I don't know. Part of me, thinks that it sounds a little bit like the down the hill. That's just me. Not as much as Holder or Westfall, but what do you guys think in the chat or on the replay? Pop it in the comments. You watch the replay.
Anybody involved in this better go try to get them a deal as quick as they can. If they moved Richard Allen for a reason, and it wasn't the reason I think people think it is. I think some shit's about to pop off, and people who are just witness to it or something like that better try to go cop them a deal, or they're going to get wound up in this shit.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think that we're going to hear, I'm hoping anyway that these names come out at when the trial finally starts, because it has to be a big part of the defense, which we've already heard. This has to do with something that none of us ever thought that it would come down to, that being, some kind of ritualistic thing. And aside from that, other people were involved, not my client, I think is the defense's approach, of course. So I think we're going to hear these names come
That's
out.
if he gets his attorneys back, because
That's
to
if
be
he gets
honest,
his,
I don't know that the next set of attorneys are going to want to touch that, but how many people are just going to be like, oh, okay, we'll act like that didn't exist. So I just hope that January 18th they give him his old attorneys back and this stuff is heard in court, because I really don't think they're going to be convicting Richard Allen if that's the case. I also really I think we touched on this in our chat. I'm really curious what the families think and if they think Richard Allen's guilty. And I know that they don't speak on it much because the courts are asking them not to, but I'm really curious what their opinions are with so many people out here saying Richard Allen's not the right guy. Do they feel the same way? I wonder,
Yeah.
So,
Bobby has mentioned, it would, it'd be worth a shot to try and get is it Abby's grandmother on the one who actually pointed the finger, at this group of, just some weird shenanigans going on. That's an old person saying there, shenanigans. We need to bring that back.
We will.
We will. We'll say it enough. You'll either hate us or you'll start saying shenanigans. With some weird shit going on. And she pointed in the direction of Holder, and he's into some shady things. Why did he stick out in her mind first and, from the beginning? I would love to do a deep dive into her thoughts. But really, like you said, any of the family members who would be willing to sit down and talk with us would be awesome.
Think about this, guys.
No.
You got a guy here who is posting pictures of cut ruins that he put in the woods before the murders. It just so happens that somebody put some cut branches on these girls and ruined that for them.
Or paint pictures of people hanging from trees or dead under trees days after the murders occur, or they make their Snapchat name with the same date that the murders occur. It just too much for me.
It's mind blowing the amount of evidence and red flags that should be pointing to other people other than Richard Allen. And you have all these things that we're talking about that should make an investigator look in a certain direction. And then you have Richard Allen sitting in prison, and you got this really, really shaky evidence in this bullet found, at the scene, which is basically all you fucking have, from a 6 Sauer that is one of the most popular guns in that area. It's used by law enforcement. It's just a popular gun. It's used for home protection. Anybody could have had that. And at that time, law enforcement in Delphi did have that certain type of gun, or at least a firearm that held that caliber.
And the cat's out of the bag now. You can't put this genie back in the bottle, man. Richard Allen will not be convicted unless they address this stuff.
They have to,
because this is in too many people's minds. Good luck finding anybody in Indiana that hasn't heard of this case or researched it a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're going to have heard
I just
about
wonder how much is hidden there. How much fear is actually in that town with it being as small as it is. Is there a reason why Toby Lesenby, the sheriff, called off those dogs after finding the bodies? Did he see that scene and think, odness, because there's so many in that area? Or did he think, okay, we've had weird things like this happen before and we're not allowed to talk about it, or this is going to cause issues for our department? Let's shoo away people from out of town. Because why else would you not have these dogs come in? Like the Down the Hill documentary, again, I can't think of the girl's name that's in it, but she said, why would you send the dogs back after you find the bodies? Maybe they could have followed a trail from the murderer.
Sure.
And he's like, oh, I'm human, in the position you're in, friend, that is not the response you should have.
No.
I mean, oh, I'm human. Well, then maybe you should not be in that position, because to me, I'm not a detective. I'm not this super genius when it comes to murder cases. Yes, I watch them, but that would have been something that popped in my head.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I just wonder how deep seated this actually is there. And I'm not trying to roll with a bunch of conspiracies and say that, everybody in the town knows what's going on. But I just wonder with you guys saying the connections that Brad Holder has, maybe some people are really aware of some of their rituals and saw this and was like, we don't need this to be what people see our town as. Let's shoo it away and see how much we can shoo it away. Let's blame it on somebody's small town that no one's going to look at again. No one's going to blink at it, blink an eye at again if we just throw him in jail and act like the other people didn't exist. And they'll stay off our back.
That's 100%.
Yeah, patsies existed since the beginning of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome, Ruby Slippers.
Slippers. So
Ruby. Go ahead, man. Yeah, you're getting ready to bust
that's gonna
out
be stuck
the
in my head for the rest.
I know it always is every time she joins us. So I guess in conclusion, we're really we're playing the waiting game with this one. But as we mentioned, the past hour, there's a lot of other people you should be fucking looking at. There's a lot of things that are not adding up. There's a lot of coincidences that after so many, you have to wonder if these are really coincidences.
Yeah, no
doubt. And I think that maybe they're, just brushing it off as, it's just a coincidence. They're just sticks. They don't mean anything. To you, they don't mean anything.
Yeah. Right on.
He
had a habit of putting these sticks out in the woods. Even had a picture on his Facebook page, still does, of a woman with sticks as horns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the other thing. It's like if someone was, or thousands of people were looking at me and, scoping out my Facebook and stalking my Facebook constantly about these murders, I think it'd probably delete some of that shit, get rid of it. Like if I know I'm not guilty and I have nothing to brag about or I have nothing to hold on to as a memento that's in relation to that case, I think I'd probably get rid of some of that shit. Like, I don't want people to keep bothering me and my family. I don't want this to be an issue for me. Yeah. But I think he enjoys the attention. I think deep down he's like, I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. I got this in the bag. Like, he just has that personality to me, I feel like. And as someone who does this during the day in the middle of a park, to me, has that personality. So it seems like it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
if the ruby slipper fits, wear it.
Bam, get you some of that. Well, and plus, I mean, maybe, being cocky doesn't, he's putting it out there, he's throwing it in your face, being cocky because of his position in the Freemason Lodge. And you think whatever you want, about Freemasons, but you get up there in that 33rd degree level and you're a grand master, which he is, that comes with a lot of power and privilege and influence over whatever area your lodge is in. I don't care, you can, whatever, it's not conspiracy. This is the real thing. This happens.
It's a brotherhood like any other gang.
Exactly. So he may be thinking that he's untouchable. He can't be touched. So he's not gonna worry about taking shit down off his Facebook. He'll flaunt it in your face. Yeah. He'll put shit out there, on the anniversary. He'll have, little names or whatever, that mention the anniversary day, the day that it all happened. I mean,
Bad Brad 213.
Bad Brad 213. That just, I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Such a badass that you're picking on kids. Even still, even if you're not the one that did it, you're sitting here picking on these kids on your Facebook page. Do I look like this guy? Like, you're a super badass, dude. Like, he just, he makes my skin crawl. Sorry. It just, I don't know. Everything about him. Just.
Here's a message to the Odinist. Odin's sucking Satan's dick in hell.
Bam, get you some of that. Well, I don't know any other better way to end the show. You kind of topped the cake right there. So, hey, with that, we will see you guys. Well, next Monday is Christmas, so we won't talk to you before then. So I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Kwanzaa, fucking Hanukkah, whatever.
Yeah.
Just have a good holiday.
Myth roast day, whatever else.
Myth roast day. And I'm not sure, when we'll hop back on. But we'll definitely let you know. And hey, who knows what, again, after the first of the year, we're going to have some childhood friends of Cheryl Coker come on. We're going to dive into that. When we talked to Shelly, it was mainly about who Cheryl was, to get to know this person for those of us who had never met her, which is all of us here.
She was a cool chick.
And yeah, it certainly seemed like it. So now I want to dive into a little bit more of the details of what happened that day, maybe set a timeline and really, really dive into it with those who were very extremely close to her, 20 plus year friends who know her the best. So, and if anybody likes indie horror or just horror in general, you can come and join me and the rest of the junkies at Indie Horror Junkie Podcast. We're over there on Facebook. Huh? Oh.
You want to see badass? I'll show you.
You want to see badass, motherfucker? I'll show you badass. All right. You guys have a good week and Merry Christmas.